So you've thought about starting a reef tank but you don't know where to begin? Today's video we're going to talk about the basics on how to get started. Okay, first thing, you're obviously going to need a tank. There's a lot of great tanks on the market, and for the price I think that the BioCubes are probably the best for starting out because they have the lights and the filtration built in. Mine's slightly modified to be rimless. That's another video we can do later. But other choices you can do are the Nuvo by Innovative Marine are nice. They're a little pricey, but they're a similar model with a rimless tank and built-in filtration. Or you can get just a 40-gallon breeder, but then you're going to have to add everything to it like the lights and the filtration and the circulation. Okay, now on to lights. Lights are one of the most important pieces of equipment when starting a reef aquarium. The prices range between $100 to $1,000 depending on what type of light and what model you get, but it's going to be one of your biggest purchases in setting up a reef tank. Ideally you would want to get something that is dimmable. LEDs last a lot longer without having to change out the bulbs, and they're dimmable. I personally use them and like the results. Okay, now on to circulation. Circulation is probably just as important as the lights, but not nearly as expensive. Most power heads will range somewhere between $25 up to $500 depending on the type and model that you get. For starting out, you could probably get away with a cheaper model like High Door Corellia, and then be able to upgrade later once you have your tank set and know what the flow rate and size of the tank is, and match it appropriately with something that's more adjustable and customizable to your tank. Okay, so if you didn't get a BioCube or a Nuvo that have the built-in filtration, you're going to need something to filter the water of your aquarium. The hang-on-the-back filters are inexpensive and do a fairly decent job, but the sumps do a more effective job of filtering but can be more expensive to set up initially. So it really depends on your budget. Okay, now you have your tanks, your light, your filtration, and your circulation. It's time to add some rock and water into it. Now rock can vary in prices depending on what you get. Dry rock typically comes at a cheaper price because it has no live algae or bacteria on it, and you have to cure and cultivate it, which can take up to 1 to 3 months in the cycling process, versus buying live rock that is already cured and ready to go into your aquarium, only taking a short period to cycle. Can tend to have hitchhikers or unwanted pests and algae on it, so you have to be wary when buying live rock. Okay, so on to water. Water is not that difficult. You can usually purchase pre-mixed salt water from your local fish store for roughly $5 to $10 per 5-gallon bucket. I would recommend buying the pre-mixed salt water if you're just starting out, because mixing it yourself can be a little bit of a hassle, and you want to get the salinity right at 0.025. Too high of a salinity and you can kill stuff, and too low of a salinity and you can kill stuff. So buying it already made just guarantees that you're already in that range. Okay, so if you want to do sand, that's optional. There's a lot of tanks out there that have a bare bottom with no sand, and there's a lot of tanks that have sand. I prefer the sand look myself. Ideally you want to shoot for about a ½ inch to an inch of a sand bed. That helps aid in the filtration and harbor the bacteria necessary for denitrification. Alright, now that you have all of your stuff together, it's time to set up your tank and get it running. Once you have it running, depending on what rock you chose, you're going to start cycling. If you have live rock, the cycling process won't take nearly as long as if you choose dry rock. The cycling process typically runs 1 to 3 months depending on how large of aquarium and what type of rock you used. If you use dry rock, you're probably going to be looking closer to the 3-month range, versus having live rock, you're looking closer to the 1-month range. The cycling process will start to kick off and you'll see a brown algae form across the bottom of the tank. Those are diatoms and those are normal, so don't freak out. Once those start to dissipate, you can start doing water changes and testing for ammonia and nitrates. Once those levels start to get near zero, your cycling process is done and you're about ready to start adding fish and coral. So once you've had your tank set up and running and the cycle process is done, it's time to start adding fish. Depending on what type of fish you want, you should base that off of how big your aquarium is, and talk to your local reef store owners. They can give you a good idea of what fish will fit in what size tank. My suggestion would be to not start with the most expensive fish that you want, and maybe something a little cheaper that's a little bit more hardy, because you're starting out a new aquarium. There could be some unknowns in the water once you throw fish in. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video on starting a reef aquarium. If so, hit the like button and drop a comment down below. Hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of new videos being released.